Hi everyone and welcome to this video on the Steinitz Deferred. My name is Charles and okay, let's get started. So in this video what I'm going to do is that I'm going to show you how to reach the Steinitz Deferred, and this way you can identify the position in your own games, and then what I'll do is that I'll show you some theory for white so that you could play versus this defense successfully. Okay, so typically the game starts off e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, bishop a4, and now instead of knight to f6, black typically plays d6. And what can I say about this opening? Well, this opening is actually very dear to me because I used to play it myself. I played it back in 2006, 2007. I actually won a tournament because of the opening, the National Open. Well, actually not the Open section of the National Open, but the under 2200 section. And I went 5.5 out of 6, and I could have gone 6 out of 6, but I decided to draw the last round just to secure the spot. With that said, the opening at the amateur level for black, it's I think it's a great opening because you get to deal with a lot of positions, and there's a lot of tricks, and it's just full of life basically. There's counterplay. I think you would enjoy it very much. Now, with that said, at a more serious level, there are some difficulties. I mean, there's many ways that white could make black go through a difficult time. But with that said, there was at a point a resurge in popularity in this opening. Mamedyarov was playing it successfully for a while, and I mean, he hasn't been playing any tournaments lately, and so I haven't seen him employ it. But with that said, I'm sure that you could use this opening in your own games if you like, and you might reach some desirable results. So with that said, okay, let me show you some theory. So here, typically, white has two moves. White could play c3 or castles. The move that I'm recommending is c3, but just so that you get to see some examples of the opening. If castles, there's an interesting variation here where black plays bishop to g4, after which we play h3, and now black plays h5, and we get a position similar to that of the Ruy Lopez exchange. And black gets a lot of counterplay here. Basically, the bishop is taboo of being captured because the open h file is going to generate a lot of counterplay for black. So with that said, let's go back to c3. And we're going to be playing this move, and the best way for black to get counterplay, to get a lively position, or to have possibilities of something like that, of getting the initiative, is by playing f5, the siesta variation. And then here we're going to play pawn takes f5. Black is going to recapture. We're going to castle. Black is going to play bishop to d3, and I know this looks a little awkward letting the bishop play to d3, but everything's fine here. Rook t1, bishop e7, this is force, and it's the best move. And now, the move that basically gives white an advantage here, and it's a move that was shown to me by, let's see, what is this gentleman's name? Let me see if I remember this guy's name. Well, I can't remember the guy's name, but he is a master from Boston, Massachusetts, and we were playing some blitz matches, and he came up with the move queen to b3, and this move is highly tactical and basically gives black problems because after b5, white now plays queen to d5, and things have just turned basically. Queen to d7, queen takes bishop, pawn takes bishop, queen to c2 attacking the pawn, knight f6, and here after d4, I think that white's position is just clearly better. He has a better pawn structure, and he is better prepared than black to take activity in the center, and as a result, I think that this yields white the advantage. After, let's say, a move like castles, white simply recaptures on e5. He plays bishop to e3, knight b to d2, and white has a clearly better position. I mean, he has a better pawn structure. He has optimal development. He has great centralization. He's going to play rook a to e1. I think he's doing perfect here. And if black plays e4, then we simply play knight f to d2, d5, and f3. And this is a common maneuver in this opening. After pawn takes f3, knight takes f3, we're doing perfectly fine here. We're not going to have any problems developing our pieces, and we have a better pawn structure than black. We have 2 pawn islands. Black has 3, and as a result, I prefer white's position. So with that said, going back, if instead black here, instead of b5, if instead black plays rook to b8, then we play queen to d5, following on our idea, bishop to g6, d4, and if e4, there's a very interesting sacrifice. Rook takes e4. Now this is not necessarily, it doesn't have to be played, but these positions are very fruitful for white. So going back, the other way of playing this position is by playing bishop to d7. And after bishop to d7, we're going to play d4, and here black has 2 moves. He could play knight g to e7, or g6. If g6, we simply castle. White plays bishop to g7, and now a very important move is bishop to g5. And this move hasn't been played that much, but it's the best move in the position, because what happens is that after bishop to g5, we create some problems in the harmony or the coordination of black's pieces. For instance, the most common reply here is f6, and after f6, we simply play bishop e3. And now what has happened? We've basically weakened this diagonal for black, and in addition to that, we've taken away the best square for the knight, and we've also taken away the purpose of the bishop on g7. So with that said, there are actually greater problems. Black is now lacking in more space, and if, let's say, black plays knight g to e7, then the queen has no squares, and that means that the rooks will never be connected. So black has serious problems here. He's highly restricted. So typically the game will go knight to h6, and then the move that I recommend here is d5. And the reason why I recommend this move is because it's rather forceful, and it gives us a simple advantage. After, let's say, knight to e7, we go bishop takes d7, queen takes d7, c4, and here white's position is better. Basically, we have more space, and we're going to play on the queen side. Black can never play f5 because we play knight to g5 followed by knight to e6, so that would be irreparably dreadful for him. And the king side attacks that look like the King's Indian defense attacks are really not to be feared, because black doesn't have a white squared bishop, and typically when white defends those positions, white usually makes a move like h3, and then the thematic way of breaking through white's position is by sacrificing the bishop on h3, and in this case black doesn't have that bishop, and as a result he doesn't have a successful attack. So the game here could continue something along the lines of castles, knight c3, b5, and queen to d3, and white's play is fairly clear. He's going to play on the queen side, and as a result, he's better there. Black is weak on the queen side. He's been playing on that side of the board, and white will develop an initiative there. So going back, after bishop to g5, if instead he plays something like bishop to f6, then once again we have the same problem for black, where we've created problems with his coordination. We simply play bishop to e3, and later on we'll play d5. Alternatively, if knight g to e7, if knight g to e7, then we play d5, knight to b8. Here, because this knight is going to b8, we play bishop to c2. Now the knight doesn't have squares. The bishop is misplaced. It's going to have to play back to c8, and then the other knight to d7. There's just serious problems for black here. Castles, c4. It's a little uncomfortable to be black.